Parsnips are a very prominent aspect in my garden, and I use them for a whole bunch of different foods that I like to eat. And I have grown parsnips for a number of years, right? Well over a decade. Now, I only bought parsnip seed once, and ever since I have saved my own seed, right? With parsnips, it's a really easy thing to do. They are a biennial plant, and they can produce copious amounts of seed in that second year. However, I've also noticed that there can be at times a particular pest that can go after parsnip seeds as they are developing. And so this is the parsnip webworm. The Latin name, of course, is Depressuria radiella, and it is native, and so this insect is native to much of Europe, just as the parsnip plant itself is. And this insect was introduced probably by accident in the late 1800s to the Americas, where it will go after both the cultivated parsnip and the wild parsnip, as well as maybe a couple of other species like cow parsnip, which is a distant relative to the true parsnip. So the webworm is basically the larval stage, right? But in the adult stage, this is a moth. It can be kind of grayish brown, kind of fuzzy in color. Kind of describes a lot of moth species. And that's kind of the point, right? It doesn't look very distinguished from a lot of other moths, right? So in the adult stage, it can kind of blend in pretty easily. But in the juvenile stage, in the larval stage, it is a caterpillar. It's got like kind of like a grayish tan skin to it with like black dots going down its back, and it also has a dark or black head. Of course, I have links down in the description that give really good detailed pictures and some other descriptions of this particular insect, so that we kind of know and have a better idea of what we're looking at. And so the adult, I believe, will lay eggs on the parsnip plants, maybe on the leaves or whatever, and then the larva will hatch, and they will begin to create a web, kind of like their own little shelter in these parsnip flower umbels. And they will damage or consume the developing flowers and the seeds as this parsnip plant is trying to produce seeds. And overall, parsnips don't usually have huge insect issues because this type of plant comes from a genus or even from a plant family that contains furanocoumarins, right, which are plant secondary metabolites specific to certain types of plants, like the parsnip, the cow parsnip, or giant hogweed might be more extreme examples. And so these are compounds that can be pretty toxic to a lot of different insects. And it can even be toxic to some of these animals, for some of these carrot family species. But it does kind of seem like this parsnip webworm does have a unique ability to be able to ingest the furanocoumarins, at least to a certain extent, where it is not negatively affected by these compounds. It's also possible that this insect may store some of these furanocoumarins in its body to make itself more distasteful or less attractive or toxic to certain potential predators. So some ideas for control. First off, this parsnip webworm is only going to be a challenge if you are growing your own seed to collect your own seed. Right? If you're buying seed every year and just harvesting the roots in that first year, then there is no reason to be concerned about this insect, right? It's not going to affect the crop at all. But I do harvest my own parsnip seeds. It's very easy, it's affordable, it makes me a little bit more, self-sufficient, so to speak, with my gardening. And it gives me the autonomy to grow as many parsnips as I want, and not having to worry about the cost of seed or the availability of it. And I've noticed that while this webworm can be present on some of my parsnip plants, I've never noticed it to be any kind of a serious problem. Yet, anyway, I of course can't speak for all situations and for all people or anything like that, but in my own context so far, this hasn't been a major threat. If they are becoming overpopulated, we can just pick them off the plants, off the flowers, and just, squash them to help, control their populations. But I haven't even had to do that. But maybe someday in the future, maybe I will. And definitely on that note, looking into the future, as I continue to learn more about these insects, I'm really interested to kind of use more observation and to watch to see what these webworms might be food for. right? What kinds of predator insects or animals on the landscape that may not be deterred by the Furanochromerans or any potential compounds that these webworms may bioaccumulate. What types of predators will go after this insect? And if so, is that why the webworm has never really been a huge problem for me? Also, as an additional note, other than just collecting my own seeds, the parsnips, when allowed to go to flower in their second year, are just, in my experience, a phenomenal plant, right? A phenomenal nectary flowering plant that attracts many different kinds of beneficial insects, right? Beneficial pollinators, beneficial predators, parasitoids, and all those beneficial insects that are so useful for natural pest control. So I basically just wanted to share kind of like a starting point of where I am presently with these parsnip webworms, and this may be a topic that I can expand on more in the future. But this is an insect that does exist. It can be a potential pest, especially if we are trying to collect our own seeds, and especially if we don't allow a whole bunch of parsnips to go to seed, but we only have a couple of plants. That's when I find these insects can really do a lot of damage. Because if you only have a few plants, it only takes a few webworms to destroy most, if not all, of the seed on those plants. So on that note, thank you so much for checking out this video. I appreciate it. Feel free to join as a member. It helps out the channel immensely. And I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.